Well, welcome everyone to this night's walk through the catalog. Just as a typical reminder, we're not here to diagnose, treat, cure anything. Everything you hear here is for informational purposes only. So let's get the show on the road. And my slogan was, unless you're eating dirt, well, even if you're eating dirt, you really aren't getting your essential minerals. And that's what we're going to focus on tonight. So tonight, multi-minerals, this is kind of crazy because minerals really tie into everything, every aspect. So fatigue or tire easily, physically active, perspire or fever a lot, if you have water retention, irregular heartbeat, migraines, mental problems, atherosclerosis, that's a big one, anemia, diabetes, osteoporosis, arthritis, high blood pressure, fractures. So there are some medical terminologies in there because ultimately the underlying thing with any chronic disease and illness is the lack of nutrient support. So again, it can be a weakened immunity. It can be fast multiplying cells. If you don't know what that is, feel free to reach out. But again, because the soil composition varies from region to region, and foods grown on minerally depleted soil can actually, in turn, be mineral poor. So you can be eating all the right things, but unless you're actually getting stuff from nutrient-dense soils, you're lessening the amount that you're actually getting in. And of course, with stress, medications, lack of exercise, it can actually interfere with mineral utilization.
So multi-minerals are very important. They're very, how do you say, they're not recognized enough, I guess.
Yeah, they're not given enough credit.
So they actually compose about 4 to 5% of your total body weight and are vital for your existence, both mentally and physically. They can be attained only from the diet. Your body does not make them at all. So you have to ingest them in order to get your minerals. So they work to trigger enzymatic reactions in the body. That's pretty much their function. So this means that deficiency will occur rapidly because they're needed for so many things. And they're often more pronounced than just a nutritional or a vitamin deficiency. So they're going to be more severe symptoms of that.
So take, for example, your cells. Your cells are comprised of sodium and potassium. If you don't have a good abundant supply of those, and now sodium is not one that we're normally deficient in, but potassium is one of those that actually goes underrated. Those are required for cells to actually function and do what they need to. And others go into actually organs being able to do the processes that they need to as well too. So it's kind of just really the ugly stepchild that's really forgotten about, but is so important to the body.
I was thinking of. They're underrated.
Yes. So mineral daily needs when it comes to our body. So you have macro minerals, micro minerals, and trace minerals. We're not going to go into what they actually, mean, except for the fact that macro minerals you need more than 100 milligrams needed daily. Micro means less than 100 milligrams needed daily, and trace is minute amounts. So you can see in there the macro: calcium, potassium, sodium, phosphorus, magnesium, sulfur. Micro: zinc, copper, iodine, iron, manganese. Trace is selenium, molybdenum, nickel, vanadium, chromium, cobalt, and silicon. And what is really critical is if you are deficient in one, it doesn't mean you just go out and take the isolated nutrients. A lot of times, if you have too much of one, it's going to offset the other. So if you stabilize the one, it's actually going to help regulate the other. So for example, zinc and copper. If you actually get too much zinc, you'll actually displace the copper. If you get too much copper, it's going to displace the zinc. So they work very, very closely together with one another.
So this goes back to the neo-life difference for the multi-min. So Dr. Arthur First, one of the founding member of the SAB board, he was a pioneer in the field of mineral absorption. So he's kind of the founder of that. And he figured out that you could use natural free-form amino acids to create the chelated minerals, which are safer, less toxic, and irritating to the stomach, and have a much higher absorption rate. So Neolife specifically uses a 2-to-1 ratio. So there are 2 amino acids, and that helps stabilize that 1 mineral ion. And this actually helps shield that positive magnetic charge of the mineral to protect it and make sure it doesn't get wasted. So you have 5 of the minerals, calcium, magnesium, zinc, iron, and copper. They're chelated, just a regular chelation, but then you have 6 others that are amino acid complex, meaning they're the double amino acid, so they're even absorbed even better.
That's
So
insane.
it's a
That's,
one-of-a-kind product.
that's a lot of science.
No other mineral product in the market has this kind of technology to it. So
something sometimes people ask is, well, I get the multivitamin in the Pro Vitality that we've already discussed, or if you haven't seen it, check that video out once it gets posted. But there is a difference between the multivitamin that's actually in the Pro Vitality versus the multi-mineral. So there's a lot going on in this slide, so I'm going to break it down for you. The 2 that are in the blue are in the multi-mineral that are not in the multivitamin that's in the Pro Vitality. The 2 that are in yellow, iodine and zinc, those are actually in both the multi-mineral as well as the Pro Vitality multivitamin, and they actually have the same quantities, which is really cool. So again, we know these minerals are essential and crucial for the growth of bones, teeth, soft tissues, provide support to the muscles, blood, and nerve cells. They facilitate the enzymes and hormones. The ones in the specifically in the multi-min, there's a marine blend of supplies that actually give a large array of the trace minerals from specially selected varieties of nutrient-rich sea vegetation. And again, the amino acid chelates with glycine, methylene, and other selected amino acids specifically for higher absorption. And even the vitamin D, which is found in both, promotes a range of health benefits, facilitates the absorption of calcium and phosphorus. So that's where you actually need is the calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin D to actually really get that good bone health. So if you can't do the mathematical, because there's a lot of numbers on there, I've already done it. You can take a picture of the slide. There's a lot more numbers. So basically what this graph is showing, and we're not going to go into the details on everything, but what it shows you is the difference is the multi-min versus the nutrients in the Pro Vitality multivitamin, and whether you're getting less or more. So for example, you're getting actually less D3 in the multi-min versus the one found in the Pro Vitality. But as far as the calcium, iron, phosphorus, magnesium, selenium, and chromium, and molybdenum, you're actually getting more. Some of those other ones, you may be getting less. So again, it's specifically tied into this complex. So now we're going to go back into the fill in the blanks.
So for number 1, it is great as a flesh healer. So if you have a torn muscle or ligaments, it's recommended to take about 9 to 12 a day, both before and after any kind of surgery you're going to get as well, or any kind of sprain or strain that you have. You want to bump up that amount.
All right, number 2, tremendous for sports injuries and for all athletes. And again, this isn't for just athletes. If you are working out and you're perspiring a lot, or if you're just perspiring a lot, you're actually depleting your minerals. So it replaces minerals after sweating a lot.
And number 3, it's wonderful for wet and dry skin healing.
Really cool. And this one goes underrated. Not a lot of people recognize it, but it's tremendous during women's monthly cycles. Menopause, if you think of menopause with minerals, there's a nutrient deficiency with minerals when it comes to that. So it helps bridge that gap.
Number 5, it's amazing for both over and underactive sweating. That could also be a mineral deficiency there too.
Number 6, it's very important for long distance runners. And this is something that we kind of forgot when we ran the marathon. It gives you stamina and the recovery time after the marathon, which we did do after the marathon. It can bring your recovery down from 90 days to 9 days. So it's huge when it comes to that recovery.
And lastly, number 7, and has that all important iodine to help support the thyroid.
Yep. So again, you already heard the phosphorus, calcium, and the D in there for the osteoporosis again. So that is it. So